I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Human Design Podcast with me, your host, Emma Dunwoody. I'm a qualified master coach and human behaviour specialist, as well as being a qualified human design coach. And I work with clients every single day to answer the big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And what is my purpose? I also assist them to transition from the person they think they should be to the person they really are on the inside. I teach people how to actually live their design instead of just knowing it. And if this is something that you want to do too, well, stay tuned or reach out for private coaching or Human Design Unpacks, where I show you exactly how to live your design.
I want to share one of my all-time favorite products with you. You may have already heard me on the podcast interview Mario Brenovic, the CEO of Analemma Water. If you haven't, please check out the show notes, go and listen to the whole episode. The reason I'm sharing it with you is because you know what I'm like. When something changes my life, I want to share it with you. This line 3 over here, I just experimented with it and I found incredible upgrades, whether it was my skin, whether it was my vitality, whether it was the plants, and I already have the FLFE. Like, I was already experiencing all these upgrades and it upgraded again, because ultimately it's my understanding that water is our foundation. It is the thing that can amplify everything. Now, if you're one of my line 1 friends out there, I'm going to give you the details because I know it's important to you, and my little experimentation over here isn't enough. So, Analemma Coherent Water, which is a revolutionary new way to improve your health and well-being, has been clinically proven to significantly increase ATP levels, the mitochondrial energy of your body. ATP is directly responsible for powering the majority of cellular process in all living beings. Increased ATP levels results in improved athletic performance, enhanced cognitive function, improved cardiovascular health, and positively affects almost every area of human health. They have been doing 13 years of research on this product, and it does everything from turns back the clock on aging, helps our gut health, our mental health, and connection to source. And for me personally, well, we took it all over Europe. Wherever we go, the Analemma comes with us because we fundamentally believe in this product, this business, and the results that we're experiencing. So if you're someone who wants to up-level everywhere, mind, body, and soul, I highly recommend checking out the Analemma. You can follow the links in the show notes, and if you use code Emma, you can receive a 10% discount. Please go check it out. It's a game changer. Hey, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. I am excited because we're looking at the next topic in our series, which is all about the human design roadmap. So you're new to human design. What does that mean? You get your chart and then you just follow this roadmap series so that you can easily and simply start to integrate your human design. Because, hey, it is complicated. It is so complicated as it is, let alone all the information out there that, in my opinion, is equally resourceful and unresourceful. There's a lot of bits and pieces that maybe we don't know, maybe people have improvised, maybe, anyway, the point of this series is to really help you easily and simply unpack your design, integrate it into your life so that you can see results from living more in alignment, more from body wisdom, more intuition, more expression of purpose, receiving more abundance, all of those really great things that you are you are designed to do. And what we really want to align our programming, our unconscious mind to support our design. Instead of what's happening in most cases, our conditioning is created below the age of 7, or the majority of it. And then we kind of express our design in a more shadow or fear expression because we're trying to fit into a societal norm or what our parents want of us, what school wants of us, or that identity that was created so that we would receive love, be taken care of, and be, belong. Ultimately, what our human design does is sets us free from all of that, and gives us the opportunity to feel loved and connected, taken care of, supported, on purpose, all of those beautiful things, and be in alignment with our truth. So today, I am coming off the back of our Byron Bay in-person retreat, and I tell you what, far out. I am so freaking excited to do more of these. It was such a game changer to be in person with these incredible people and to spend all this time not only talking human design, but also really getting to know these people and watching them shine. I mean, such a huge shout out to all of you. And I will probably mention all of you over a period of time. But today, the one that really just popped into my mind is the beautiful Kimberly. This incredible woman, from the moment I met her, I was drawn in. Yet it was like, and I think I've expressed it this way a few times over the retreat. It's kind of like she was this incredible lioness shut in a tiny cage. And this incredible, beautiful, so magnetic manifestor came to light. She stepped into her power. She became the attention, like where our attention would go. And there was this crazy, cute, beautiful moment where we were in one of the study sessions and she just quietly got up and left. She needed to go to the loo or the toilet for the Aussies, for the US people out there, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say loo. And the whole room was like, oh my God, where did Kimberly go? Where did she go? Is she okay? What happened? And it was that classic, when you're a manifestor, people know when you enter the room or when you leave the room. And it was so beautiful watching this play out. However, the bigger metaphor was that she'd kind of snuck out because she's so used to trying to fly under the radar, to blend in, to almost not be noticed. And it became this, although it became like this running joke, it was also an incredibly powerful experience that it was like she even had to inform us that she was going to the toilet because we would feel that she wasn't there. We would feel the gap that her energy left, and we'd all be like, oh my God, where is she? Where is she? Where's the queen? Where is she? Where is the queen? So these experiences for me just light me up. We had so many incredible stories, and I will share them over the next few weeks because I think it's important for people just to hear that, we don't magically just poof, we're in our power and smashing it out of the park. It is a journey. And depending how we invest in ourselves, whether that is anything from, I know my journey started with anything that was free. All I perceived I could afford were books. So I would read books. And then over time, I started to understand the value of investing in myself. And the big catalyst for me after investing in a few different boot camps and online things was investing in my Master Coach program, which was this 3-year program. And that was the massive game changer for me because me investing in me in that way was the catalyst for that real opportunity for me to step into my power, to see what I was really capable of. And as one of the NLP principles that I mention all the time goes, the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. So once you start to invest in yourself from a monetary point of view, you're actually going to invest in yourself in all the areas of your life, like self-worth, time off, balancing work and play. You're going to prioritize that investment in yourself. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. I wanted to share that story. I'm going to share more from the retreat because I so desperately wish I could start another one today. It's so much fun, completely transformative for all of us involved. Because I got to play along. Like I got to be in all the classes that I wasn't teaching. I still sat in on, whether it was the sound healing or the hypnosis. With every meal, we all sat together. Oh my God, it was so, so good. We even had an incredible conversation We had lots of them actually, but one of the fireside ones that ended in a late night woo-woo conversation, which actually gave me something to respond to. That reminds me, I must talk to Jess Bubico about something. Cryptic, I know, but if she says yes, then you'll all know about it. So today, I did just want to end with, so if you feel even half the excitement that I'm feeling about retreats, please just stay tuned, because we're going to do one in the US or Mexico, probably Mexico. And then the US maybe later in the year. If not, we'll definitely do it next year. But it'll be accessible for you US peeps. The other thing that we really want to do is we want to do another one here in Australia. And we were thinking about opening doors for that relatively soon, and putting a payment plan in place so that people who have to travel from a long distance, because we had people from the US on this retreat, we had people from the UK and all over Australia. So in case that was the thing that maybe held you back later, that is on the table at the moment. So, it'd be super, super cool. It'd be super cool if you let us know, either DM me on Instagram or reach out at support@emmadunwoody.com, and let us know. Would you, if we open the doors for a November retreat here in Australia, would you want to join that retreat? Yeah, let us know, because we're pretty keen to do that again, because the place is also freaking magical. Anyway, let's talk about authority. Authority is the next piece in the puzzle for anyone who is on their human design journey. All right. So we talked about type, then we talked about mindset. Ultimately, once we have our chart, we want to understand that we have an unconscious mind that is governing 95% of our behavior. So we need to understand our chart and our unconscious mind so that we can recondition, not decondition, recondition our unconscious mind to support our chart, instead of our energy or our chart almost working against our conditioning. Okay. So then we talked about strategy. And strategy is all about how the universe speaks to us. All right. I'm going to do a really, really, really brief recap. If you want to go deeper into strategy, there is an episode under the 100s that's all about strategy. It's probably even under the 50s. In fact, it could be less than that, but go and have a look at all the either being whatever type or the type series from the beginning of the podcast. So there's plenty of information on it if you want it. Otherwise, I'm just going to touch on it today because it's important to understand that strategy is actually the way the universe speaks to us. All right. So authority is how our internal guidance system speaks to us. So it's this communication loop. That's the way I understand it the best. I think it's the simplest way to understand it. It's like our information loop that's constantly going from, mind, body, soul, quantum, God, universe, source, whatever it is. It's that constant communication loop. So at the end of the day, when you practice and get familiar with your strategy and what we're going to talk about today, authority, then it almost doesn't matter about the rest of the details. Like it really doesn't matter, because if we just follow our strategy and authority, and this is what I did for, I'm going to say 12 months, I'd play around with it, I'd learn things, but I never really consciously tried to action any of my chart. I just followed my strategy and authority, and magic unfolded before me. So this is a really, really important episode. So our strategies by type, we have a manifestor whose strategy is to initiate and inform. And these are the people who inspire people into action. Then we have the generator and manifesting generator. They're here to respond. The MG also is here to inform, which is our strategy, right? And it's also like, I think a lot of, when I say this is how the universe speaks to us, it's also how, it's our literal strategy of how to work with the universe. Okay. Then we have the projector, which is, of course, our strategy. The strategy is to wait for an invitation. So they are here to be seen and valued and appreciated. So they need to see, value, and appreciate themselves and acknowledge themselves first. Then they will receive invitations. Then we have the reflector. And the reflector is over time, really feeling into how do people and places make you feel. And then over the 28-day moon cycle, getting to know what feels correct and what doesn't feel correct for you. So today what I want to do is I want to go into authority. There are going to be some double ups because some of them, and not direct double ups, but there's going to be things that sound familiar because, you know, if you're a reflector, it's kind of this huge, big theme of strategy and authority kind of blends together. Yeah, so that's fine. If you feel confused, like, isn't that the same thing? In some places, it kind of can be a little bit the same thing. So our authority is our number one way of making decisions, okay? This is moving from the mind to the body. Human design is all about being able to get out of the mind into the body, get out of resistance and into flow. When we make decisions from the body, from our authority, from our internal wisdom and our connection to source, then we will tend to make decisions from a place of alignment. When we make decisions from the mind, we will tend to overthink things, miss the subtle energies, which is our strategy and authority, and then we will tend to make decisions from fear. So that will cause resistance, shoulds, coulds, conditioning, that sort of thing. So the big journey, or the primary goal of human design, is to get us out of the head and into the body. Obviously, there's so much power in the body as well, because as we're becoming more and more familiar with trauma and how to work with trauma, what's the first thing we need to do? We need to get back into the body, because people who have experienced trauma, they also, in many, many cases, experience a lot of disassociation, meaning that they get out of the body because the trauma was so severe or so uncomfortable or so scary that they actually learn to disassociate from their body so that they don't actually feel anything. So this can be a challenge in a couple of ways. It can be a challenge that you don't necessarily feel that internal guidance system. Maybe you don't trust it. It's also one of the ways where a lot of people who have disassociated for reasons, whatever traumatic reasons or for whatever reasons, that these people also can tend to, there's kind of like a gap where the other dimensions can get in almost because you've disassociated from the body. So one of the things to be conscious of is you could have access to resourceful other dimensions, energies, that sort of thing. And you could have even unresourceful energies and other things from other dimensions. There's not something to be scared about because ultimately we have the final control, but it's something just to be aware of. And what do I mean by that? So in a lot of cases, people who are channels, and I don't know about anyone's trauma, so I'm not saying these people have trauma. So if you think about people who channel, often the reason that people are such a good channel is because at some point as a kid, they've learned to disassociate from the body. So it allows that energy to come in, or maybe, like the same with Abraham Hicks. So something like that. So that's a really resourceful way that our disassociation, potentially our trauma, has served us. It doesn't mean that when we heal the trauma that the channel will go away. That's not true either. But maybe in an unresourceful way, maybe you've been working with something that you just can't shift. And potentially maybe there's some sort of energy thing going on there. And it's from that disassociation, from that gap, from that crack that can be healed. Wow, I've gone a little bit off topic, but I thought it was important. So authority is all about, the first thing you need to do is get out of the head and into the body, okay? Which is why I really wanted to talk through all of that. Getting back into the body for some people is super easy. For other people, it isn't so easy. And it doesn't matter your definition, whether it doesn't mean if you're defined, let's say defined emotionally, that doesn't mean that it's not just the undefined emotional people that disassociate from emotion and feeling. It can be both. I'm defined emotionally and I disassociated from my physical body for many, many years. You would have probably heard the story I tell when I broke my arm in grade 3, and I had absolutely, it did not hurt at all for hours because I was so afraid of feeling the pain. My undefined spleen over the years that I'd completely switched off the feeling. So there is no firm rule for anyone. However, what I would encourage you to do is as I'm talking through the authorities, just to see what resonates, what feels true for you, and then go and experiment with whatever your authority is, okay? Remember to give your brain evidence daily, if possible, of what happens when you do listen to your authority and what happens when you don't listen to your authority, because this is going to strengthen the muscle of trust, self-belief, being able to back yourself, how amazing your authority is, how much wisdom it has, how you can just trust it, even though maybe it just turns up for 2 seconds and it's gone again. So make sure you record the journey. All right. So when it comes to authority, there's a hierarchy. What does that mean? It means there's like a hierarchy of definition. So if you've got your chart in front of you and you're looking at your chart, if you look to the right-hand side at the triangle on the furthest right-hand side, if that is colored in, you have emotional authority. All right. Because if that is colored in, no matter what else is colored in, that has the last say. That's the first of the authorities. Now, if you have emotional authority, you may have heard the term, there's no truth in the now. This is all about riding the emotional wave, okay? This is someone who could feel so drastically different about a decision depending on where they are in their emotional wave. So it's someone that needs to slow down, take time, be able to give themselves space. The old school knowledge says, sleep on it. There isn't a definition. There's not like one length of time is going to work for any one person, or for every one person, I should say. So one of the things that I will say is with an emotional authority, you're going to notice that a decision, it's like it enters your awareness or it enters the aura and it kind of just sits there and you won't have clarity about it. Depending on where you are in your emotional wave, that's going to influence it as well. But the emotional solar plexus is also an awareness center. So it has this extra level of knowingness. So ultimately what the solar plexus is taking its time to do is not only tell you if yes, you should do it, no, you shouldn't do it, but it's also waiting for timing. It's waiting for the right timing. Because if we can wait out our emotional wave, wait for our solar plexus to feel like it's clear, or at least clear enough, because an emotional person will never have a feeling of 100% clarity. They'll just be like, yeah, I'm 90, or I always joke, 86% sure, right? That also is going to be on timing. So if you have the ability to wait it out until you get the clarity, then you can have massive quantum leaps. Okay. So let me give you an example of what this looks like for me. In 2021, we did the big lap around Australia. In 2020, we ordered a big, like what we call camper van. You guys might call in the US an RV. So an all-in-one, you driving home, right? That sort of thing. There was just one thing after the other, and it didn't work out, but it took us a whole 12 months until one day I just went, that's it, pull the pin. We're not doing it. It was like my solar plexus said, this decision, that was the thing I needed to quit. That phone call as an MG, that was the thing I needed to quit in response to. Now, on that day, I also said, Justin, please just get on whatever you get on and find us a new car and a caravan, because we also decided to change going from the camper van to a car and a caravan so that we had a car that we could drive around with as well. Now, we did this in a time where there were no cars, no caravans, nothing available, because everyone was doing the same thing. Everyone was getting the hell out of the cities. So what happened was Justin found this car and this caravan. We were he's on the phone. I'm listening to the conversation in the background. I'm like, put a deposit on it. I just knew in that moment, put a deposit on it, sight unseen, just conversation had. Ultimately, we got it. And the guy he was like, oh my God, by the time we spoke to him in the morning, he said, I could have sold this 4 times today. So once the solar plexus gives you the green light, things can happen very, very quickly, but you have to also be willing just to wait for that clarity to show up. And the emotional wave as well, like the whole sleep on it is a great place to start. And sometimes the just someone getting out of your aura might be long enough for you to go, okay, I have more clarity now. So it's playing with or at least getting to know the wave, as well as getting to know that the way the timing shows up for you. Then the next authority, if you're looking at your chart, and it would mean that your solar plexus, so the triangle on the right-hand side, is white, undefined. And then the sacral, which is the next one to the left in the middle, the square that's red, that will be colored in. All right. That means you're a sacral being. So this is all about the It's the sacral response. Yes, I have energy for something. No, I don't. So unlike the emotional solar plexus, the decision doesn't come into, it's not percolating. Okay. So let me give you an example of this. So for me, things come into my awareness, it's kind of percolating, it's sort of playing out, sometimes days, sometimes weeks go by, sometimes less than that. And then my solar plexus says, okay, it's time to go. And in that time, my sacral might have an opinion, but at the end of the day, the solar plexus gets the last answer, answer. However, an example would be like with Taylor, obviously, who works with me. If a decision comes into her awareness, she instantly knows in the moment. She doesn't need to have any information about it. She doesn't necessarily need to sit on it. It could just literally appear, and in the moment she can answer, I've got energy for that. I don't have energy for that. The sacral can have a maybe as well if the timing's not quite right. So it kind of feels like a yes, but not yet. That's okay too. So just trusting it. Now, one of the things I want to say at the outset, and I'll probably repeat it again at the end, is when you start working with your authority, start small. So don't go, do I spend 10 grand on these flights? Do I spend 10 grand on this coach? Don't say, do I leave my marriage? Don't start with these big, massive decisions and put that intention out for you to respond to, or your authority to respond to over time. What you actually want to be doing is starting small, deciding what you want to eat, what you want to do on the weekend, like things that you don't have a huge attachment to. This is the place to start to build the muscle. And then, of course, as you navigate, write down the evidence. So a sacral response will be, really the pure, and I say pure, but I want to say the primary, pure, I'm not sure it's the right word, but like if it's really clean, it is literally a noise, not a word. Okay. And you'll notice that especially MGs, they make a lot of noises. They might like one of my sons makes noises when he eats. You can tell that he loves something because the sacral's making noises. Or if someone's tired, they don't have energy, you might hear it's the non-language, it's those sounds. However, having said that, over time we tend to put words to it. Okay, so it's going to be yes or no. The moment a sacral being comes into this place where it is making a decision and then thinking about it, there's a sentence, there's words, you're not there anymore. Okay, you've officially overridden your sacral. The moment you're deciding on the sacral or having a conversation in your head about the sacral, it's not that, it's not words, it's a feeling. I've got energy for it. I don't have energy for it. And I think it's the simplicity that trips people up. So just know that it's simple and easy. The hardest part is to trust it without the words. Then the next one, so you've got a white solar plexus, which is the triangle on the right. You've got a white square in the middle, which is the sacral. Then on the left-hand triangle, you have it colored in. Then you're splenic, okay? So this is intuition. The way this plays out, and I've told this story a couple of times recently, and I think it's a very powerful. My husband has splenic authority. And the thing about splenic authority is it's very spontaneous. It's in the now. It's, like poof, it's there, and poof, it's gone again. All right. It's very, very, very in the moment. Now, I have an undefined spleen, so I amplify and reflect back Justin's splenic energy. He has an individual channel, meaning it's knowing and it's auditory. So let me give you an example of how the spleen will show up. So we're at the beach, and for some reason, I don't know why, I just get up off my towel. So I'm in his aura at this time. I'm lying on a towel right next to him. I'm in his aura. I get up, and for some reason, I'm literally standing up. I'm not even sure why I'm standing up. I'm like, am I going for a swim? What am I doing? And the next thing, this rogue wave comes in, and I have enough time to pick up the towel and, of course, get Justin, like, wake up, get up kind of thing. So I didn't know why I was standing up. I just went to stand. I just did it. And it was because the wave was coming in. But my intuition knew it was coming, but I had no cognitive awareness that it was coming. Same thing happened a few days later when I was walking the lighthouse with Justin. We're walking along, and this bush turkey, we literally will see like 10, 15 bush turkeys every day, every time I walk it, for some reason gave me a fright, which was really weird because, that doesn't happen. And I sort of grabbed Justin's arm and then said, "Just, that's so weird. Why would a bush turkey?" And before I even finished the sentence, he all of a sudden stops me and puts his arm across me. And I look up, and there's this huge, like 3.5 meter long snake just in front of us. So that's how my intuition, that's how the spleen works. It's like, you don't know why, what, how, or when. It's just that all of a sudden your body is going to respond to something, and then you'll almost see like, oh, that's what my intuition was talking about, the snake or the wave or something like that. And then you just got to listen to it. You just got to follow it. The thing about splenic is it's very spontaneous. It's very in the moment, and it only happens once. So let's say I had ignored the bush turkey, for example, or I'd ignored the urge to stand up. I'm going to get hit by a wave. I'm probably going to get too close to that snake for comfort. So we want to just build that trust. The other thing I hear a lot around the spleen is that there's a lot of calm around the moment the spleen speaks to you. Okay. So I definitely feel that as well. And the way I would explain it almost feels like a little bit of a void. Like, I'm not sure why I'm doing what I'm doing, but I just know I have to be doing it. But not articulated it. It's kind of a feeling, right? Okay. The next one. The next one is if you have a white undefined solar plexus, right hand triangle, center square, which is the sacral, left hand triangle, which is the spleen. The next we go to is the back to the right, the small triangle above the solar plexus. Okay. That is the will center, also known as the heart center, also known as the ego center. So if you have that defined and the other three are white, then this is your authority. It's very rare. You can be a manifestor or a projector with this authority. And ultimately, this is someone who is going to speak out, I want, I have, and be potentially very focused on themselves and the material plane. They need to talk this way. They need to hear what their wants and desires and let's say their resourceful ego has to say, because that's how they know what's correct for them. Now, obviously every authority has its shadow. My mother is actually an ego projector, and she's also on that narcissistic, the low end, I will say in her defense, the low end of that scale. And when I discovered that she was ego authority, I was like, oh, wow, okay, that makes sense, because she filters everything through what it means to her in this material world. So these people can feel like they're constantly talking about themselves, but it's how they judge where they're at. And if you have this, you want to have people in your life that aren't going to judge you for that sort of language and for being focused on yourself and what you want and what you want to create. Because as you speak this out, you're going to get greater awareness of what's correct for you. Anything that is speaking it out, it's also important that you have a good sounding board. So it's basically any authority from this point forward. It's really important that you have a good sounding board. And a good sounding board is someone who's a really good listener. So they actually listen to what you say and repeat back what you say. Not what they think you said, not what they think you should have said, what you actually said. Then if they're being really neutral and just being able to fully listen, the other thing that they might want to be helping you out with is any nuances. Did the tone of your voice change? Did it sound like you didn't want to do something? Did it sound like you actually did want to do something? So coming from that place of being really neutral, it means nothing to them if you do or you don't, but just being able to fully, deeply listen to what they're saying and add any resourceful feedback. Then the next one, so we've got a white solar plexus, right triangle, a white sacral, which is the square in the middle. We've got a white spleen, which is the left-hand triangle. Then we've got a white will center, which is the little triangle. And let's go next to the diamond. Okay, so the yellow diamond in the center. If you have that yellow diamond in the center, then you are self-directed. You are another person that needs to speak it out, because when you speak out, when you're speaking out loud, then you can hear the direction. Okay, you can hear the direction that you want to go in, and then you can follow that direction. Again, same thing goes for the sounding board. You want to have someone that you can speak it out to. And for all of these that have a sounding board, or it's handy to have someone that can deeply listen, you don't have to. You can speak it out on your own. You can speak it out loud. You can talk to a cat, a dog. You can talk to your past father. Those things are fine as well. Someone said the other day, or someone I was talking to, but they said, I feel like I've had so many conversations with my dog, but she's never said a word to me. Or it feels like we talk all day, but she's never said a word to me. So talk to your pets. It's exactly the same thing. You can talk, you can speak it out with the intention to hear, to listen, to hear yourself, to listen in this particular case to your direction in which you want to go. Then we go to like a mental projector. Okay, so that's the defined ajna, head and ajna, could be head, ajna, throat, could be ajna, throat. So these people are very mental people. Their mind is constantly going. What is really helpful for them is to have a sounding board. They need to speak it out, absolutely, but also having someone to really be able to hear what's going on. The other thing, as much as it's not their authority, but what's super important is because all their consistent and reliable energy happens above the throat, they want to learn to get into their body, to really feel how people and places make them feel. This isn't officially their authority, but in my experience, this plays very significantly into their authority, because there's so much feedback going on in their body that if they can feel into that, as well as speaking it out, as well as having a really powerful sounding board to hear the nuances, that's all going to help them go in the direction that is correct for them and make the decisions that are correct for them, because their superpower really is feeling into the energy around them, right? Then we have the reflector. So if you are a reflector, there is this ability that you have to have such a connection to the energy, the subtle energies, who's doing what's going on, what an environment feels like, what people feel like. And this actually plays into your authority, because technically, I think in the old knowledge, they say you have no authority, but that's not true, because your authority is always going to be your body in some way. Okay. Whether you're speaking it out, or you're feeling it in your consistent energy, or you're feeling the energy that's moving through you that you're amplifying and reflecting back, there's so much wisdom in that. So with a reflector, we say like wait for 28 days, because this consistency can be created through the moon as it moves through your chart, because the moon's going to move through your chart every sort of 1 to 2 days, activating each gate as it moves through it. Then your definition will change as it moves. And of course, every 28 days, it's going to move the same way through the chart, creating consistency. So on day 3, you might be a generator. On day 10, you might be a manifestor. So there's kind of like, okay, I know I can, land on those days, and maybe I'll find it easier to make a decision with my sacral or something like that. It's where the consistency comes from. The biggest piece in my experience with reflectors, is really learning to trust the way people and places make you feel and slowing down. Once you slow down and you learn to trust the energy, like learn to trust your reading of the energy, like how you feel around certain people and certain places, knowing that your mindset, your focus, and if you're in your shadow will all play into that. Because if you're in your shadow, and this goes for every type, every authority, if you're in your shadow, that's what you're going to be calling in. You're going to be calling in things that are similar to the frequency of your shadow expression. Okay. So if you want to improve your life, don't sit around waiting. What you want to be doing is you want to be raising your frequency, which means you want to be making less decisions from fear and more decisions from love. You're looking at your chart, getting to know the shadow expressions, and then choosing to express the higher expressions of things in your chart. Okay. So with a reflector, slow down, trust those subtle energies. And again, record it. What happened when you listened to it? What happened? What decisions were really good because you did listen to it? What decisions didn't work? Maybe you didn't listen to it. So you can start to really get a feel for, even if you specifically have days that are better for decision-making than others. Whew. Well, that's it. That's all the authorities. Ultimately, as I said at the beginning, start with something small. Practice your authority with the smaller decisions. It's all about getting out of the head and into the body. What is the body telling you? What information are you receiving? Starting to trust the more subtle energies, keeping in mind that the body and the subtle energies are much softer than the mind and the ego, that they will tend to be a lot louder. Even if you are clairaudient, so you hear things, voices, so that's intuitive guidance through sound, that's also going to be more subtle than an ego conversation or something that's coming from fear. Okay. So it's really about starting to trust those subtle energies and building the evidence with your brain that you can trust the subtle energies, that it's safe to trust the subtle energies, and that, look, your decisions are so good trusting the subtle energies. Awesome. That is your authority. So get your strategy from the last episode or from the beginning of this episode. Get your authority and just start experimenting with it. It doesn't need to be perfect. You won't necessarily know how it feels or looks or sounds straight away. So just keep turning up for yourself. Take imperfect action in the directions of your dreams, because ultimately this is how you become your own guru. All right. I trust that made human design simple for you today, and I so look forward to having you on the next podcast. Bye for now.
Thanks everyone for being here all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value out of it. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. Could I please ask that you share this podcast with friends if you found it valuable? And also, bonus points, could you leave a review for me as well on Apple? It would be greatly appreciated. If at any point you would like to be on the podcast, or you've got questions that you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, by all means get on my socials and DM me. Everything you need is there in the show notes. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.